setup needed to create the warehouse task automatically on the creation of inbound delivery. We have couple of options available wherein we can decide whether we want to trigger the creation of warehouse task based on the delivery creation or when we post the good receipt, or if even if we are posting the good receipt partially, because the status will turn in progress. So we will look at the setup. So in general, the PPF setup is more or less same, uh, wherein there is a condition record which needs to be created, and as the term goes, condition code record, the setup is same as we have seen earlier in ECC or in S4, that there is a condition technique which gets involved, wherein we have to decide the selection criteria based on which we will be maintaining the condition record. And then the selection criteria, to represent that, we will create the condition table, and there can be multiple condition table, and then we attach it to the access sequence, and then the access sequence goes to your condition type, which then gets in turn added to your determination procedure, and then we assign the relevant warehouse etc to that procedure. So this is the end user part wherein we are looking at the condition record. So we have the condition type, which is the standard one, and we can if you want to restrict it to specific document type wherein you want to this you want the warehouse task to be created automatically, then comes the goods movement status. Now there are uh, we'll look at the options. So these are the options. So in this particular scenario, I want the warehouse task to be created whenever the delivery is created. So this is the object change value, and this is the status. So initially when the delivery gets created, the status will be not started. Now, as I was pointing out to the scenario wherein you are, let's say, posting the GR for partial, one of the handling unit, and you want to trigger the warehouse task at that point of time, then this will make sense. If you want it to happen when the if there are multiple handling units, and if you have posted the good receipt for all the handling unit, then only the warehouse task should be created, then this one will be applicable. So one point to note here is that the action profile is at the header level, which is the delivery, right? So even if you, let's say, you have posted the GR for, there are three or four boxes in your or handling unit in your inbound delivery, and you posted the GR for just one of them, then even though the rest of the handling units are not yet been received in the system, or the GR is not yet been done, but the warehouse task creation will be triggered for those, because this being at the header level. Now, based on your business requirement, we have discussed a couple of those. So based on your business requirement, you can choose the goods movement status. Now, in this scenario, because if you want to do it when the good receipt is posted for, let's say, any of the HU, then you want to do it, then the object value will be, the change that the data is changed for the inbound delivery. So we'll look at the values. So these are the possible values, that whether the object is getting changed or object is getting created, right? So based on the requirement, you can set it up accordingly. Now, what is this action definition? So the purpose of action definition is that rather than somebody going into the inbound delivery and creating the warehouse task, we want system to do it. So it's a mechanism to automate an activity to save the overhead or extra requirement of extra FT to carry out this activity depending on the volume of the work. So we want to take away the work or the dependency on the work on the manual effort. We want to move it, transfer the onus onto the system, and we want to automate this activity. So don't get daunted by the the name, the long name. So ultimately, all we want to do is we want to create the warehouse task whenever the delivery is getting created, right? So this is the condition table. So what exactly this table is holding? It's holding these values, the document type, goods movement status, object change status, the warehouse number. So it's a kind of a criteria. So if your criteria involves another field, so SAP provides a field catalog, right? So from within the field catalog, you can choose the field to create the condition table. In case you want to introduce a new field which is not there in the field catalog, then of course you have to do the enhancement, but that is also possible. And then you will be creating a table for the customer specific table. So the nomenclature starts with CUST and then the number, the mathematical number. uh, so let's go and backtrack it. So there are three factors when it comes to PPF. There are basically three factors. One is the definition itself, and action definition is nothing but the activity which you want system to perform rather than expecting the operator to carry it out, right? Then comes the action definition. When do you want this to be, triggered? So one thing is that this selection criteria, right? So even if let's say you have maintained the record, but your action the condition which you have mentioned, or the schedule condition you have mentioned, and if that condition is not met, it will not be processed, or it won't be even appearing in the delivery. So just by maintaining the condition record, it won't work. So which means that there is a lot of dependency on the action definition, action condition. Now this is again, I already spoke about the condition technique. It is an old concept in SAP. We'll take a brief look at it. So just to understand here, so we can see in this transaction code, the condition type is 0DWT. Now this condition type is mapped to access sequence. Access sequence is nothing but it's like just a box inside which you are entering multiple selection criteria. Now when I say multiple selection criteria, the combination of these four fields is a selection criteria. Now if you want to introduce another one, let's say vendor, you want to add ship from party or vendor as a criteria. So if you have, let's say this is one criteria, then you have vendor also another factor, so that is another criteria. So you will create one table for this one, and then there will be another table for that criteria which includes vendor. Now you want to use depending upon certain scenario, so at times you will use the scenario, condition table with vendor, sometime you'll use the condition table without vendor. So but both are for the creation of warehouse task. So ultimately you will have to map those two tables within this condition type, but these tables are not directly linked to the condition type. What happens is that we will be assigning the tables to something called as access sequence, which is nothing but it's a it holds that those two tables together. Because then when it comes to tables, SAP would want the input, what is the priority, which table should be searched first, right? So SAP will not take the decision on behalf of operator, so we'll have to then assign the table. So I'm just randomly taking the access sequence now. So if you have multiple table, you will list them out, and then this exclusive checkbox, it means that if system has found, because let's say you have maintained the record for vendor as well and for this scenario also, then which one system should read first? And let's say if your system has found the record for this one first, then you do not want the system to search the for the record, then you will mark the exclusive checkbox. Now again, these all are legacy concept, I would call it. They have been in SAP forever, so there's nothing new over here to talk about. But just so that to give the clear picture or complete picture, I'm just showing them here. Now the condition type which we have, 0DWTO. So this is the condition type, and earlier we saw the access sequence assigned to it, and then within the access sequence, which is nothing but just like a bucket inside which you are holding those two table, or the grouping of those fields. Now then once the procedure is maintained, then you will assign the determination of the procedure. Now if you want to make it warehouse specific, you can see the entries, right? So if you want to make it delivery document specific, etc., then you can. Otherwise you want to keep it generic, then just assign it with the action definition. Now again, here also, as you can see, there is a need of priority, right? Sequence in which record should be read first. So because sometime the warehouse is blank, sometime it is mentioned, then if you maintain the entry for both, which one takes the precedence? So this is the access sequence. So in EWM for a, throughout you will find this concept of access sequence, because SAP will give you a couple of fields, and it will allow you to maintain the entry with or without populating the data in each field. And if you are performing that, then it means that you will have multiple records for similar, let's say action definition in this case. Then which one should be read first, right? So the priority. So this is where you define the priority. By marking the checkbox, you will inform system that look for the combination record based on all the fields, and if you don't find it, then look for the record based on action, ignore the warehouse number, and based on just three fields. So basically, even though in this screen you can see that there are four fields or four field, but you can, based on the checkbox, system will can select or deselect the data from the column. So instead of reading the data from all the four, it can read just based on two. And then the next step would be to maintain the condition table and condition type in the condition maintenance group. It is very much possible to create your own condition maintenance group as well. Now coming back to the action definition. So ultimately the code to create or the logic to create the warehouse task, right? We are taking away the action from the user and we want system to do it. So the logic is inside the action definition. Now, how does system, so there is a linkage, right? So let me go back a step. So in the inbound delivery, there is a field, there is wherein we update something called as action profile. Action profile is basically on that delivery, what kind of action do you want to perform? Not that you have to perform all the action, but the possibility. So you may want to print a document when the GR is posted. You may want to trigger an email, right, to somebody notifying that the goods have been received, carry out the quality activity or whatever it may be, right? So the actions which you want, you think possibly you would want to perform on the delivery, those are maintained inside this value, which is called as action profile. Now, printing a document, triggering an email, creating a warehouse task, or if there is any other action, custom action which you SAP provides certain action definition. So those individual action, right, the triggering of email, creating the warehouse task, those are maintained inside the action profile. And then that action profile gets assigned to your delivery, right? So SAP always, whenever there are multiple values, then SAP always provides an option to club them together. So action profile is just like again a bucket wherein you've added all the individual action definition, because if SAP won't provide this, then you will have to assign each individual action definition to the directly to the delivery document. So to keep things simple, rather than giving four fields or five fields, because you can have let's say 100 action definitions. So SAP will have to create a table with 100 or many fields, right? So that's not ideal. So that's why they club. You can keep on creating your action definition here, and then you want to create, and then you club all those action definition over here. Now, what is action definition? These are the activities which you want system to perform on behalf of user. There could be some validation, there could be some workflow, or there could be, in our scenario, a warehouse task, right? Now, where is the code? So here in EWM, it is object oriented programming. So if you have the understanding, so then it will come pretty handy. So to navigate to this method, so there is a class, so you have to click on this button. It will open up the implementation. Go to interface, and then you can read the code. So sometime you will notice that the PPF is not getting triggered even though you have maintained the condition record, or it's a custom PPF, something is not working. So if you want to put the breakpoint, you can put an external breakpoint here in the code and then trigger it to see debug it. So I've already opened it, this one. So this is the body, this is the PPF method. So you can go inside and read the code, put a breakpoint to check, what is working and what is not working. So this is the method for that body. Now going back, now in terms of your action profile, in terms of your action definition, you SAP gives the option that you can decide whether the action has to happen right away or it should happen via a batch job, right? Because you do not want the system to create warehouse task every now and then. You want to create them in bulk, as in like at 3 o'clock I want to create the all the warehouse task, even though the delivery gets created and the condition, all the schedule condition, everything is satisfied, but you want it to be processed by batch job. Then this is what you have to use. Now action merging is basically sometimes, let's say you have created a delivery and you have the PPF is scheduled, uh, and you have marked this as to be processed later, but meanwhile the data has changed. Now there is another information has changed in the document. Now how does it the PPF react to it? So the concept goes into then action merging. So once we have defined the action definition, now the action profile is not at your item level. I mean, it is not assigned to your item type, but there are action which are, action definition which works at the item level. For example, wave. Right now, important. This is one of the important key factor. If you are defining a new action definition or a new action profile, make sure you have performed this step and the action definition is added via this transaction, wherein, because this is the or node wherein you will enter the schedule condition and start condition if you have any. So in this particular case, so this is the screen which opens up, and by clicking the technical name you can see your action profile, and within that your action definition. If you have created a new action definition by copying or something, then you have to click on create and select that one. Only when you've added it here, then only your action definition will work. So make sure to update it always. Right? So you will get your Z action definition here, and then you can select it. Now this is the schedule condition. So if this condition is not met, your PPF will not even be activated for your delivery document or whatever is the scenario, right? So which means there is a logic written inside it. Now I've already opened the window. Again, the navigation path is you just double click on it and then you'll get to. You can see the methods schedule condition, right? So, there is a condition written here. Once it is satisfied, then only system will be creating your uh, warehouse task or scheduling it. And then of course, based on your action definition setup, whether the action definition has to be the action definition has to be processed by program or should be done right away. So you can see the when condition over here. So there are different condition. For this one is for warehouse creation. This is for printing of the loading list, etc. Right, for TU creation. Now once we are through with the schedule condition, we have seen the condition record determination as well. Now these are two important transaction codes. So I'm using the navigation path through SPRO. But if you directly want to jump to this screen to see your action profile and definition, etc., then you can use the Tcode listed here. So these are the application area. So we are dealing with the creation of warehouse task for the delivery. So you can select the app. So even for your TM module, you can see the action profile here. So rather than going through the navigation path through the configuration, you can also come through this navigation path. Now, once your PPF are generated, right, it might go in error or it might go in waiting status to be processed by batch job or success. So if you want to see, this is the transaction code SPPFP. Once you will come to the transaction code, you can. So now if your action profile is set up for a selection report and you are checking by this option, then it won't come up in your search. So best is to remove it. And if you happen to know the timing detail, then you can narrow the search down by entering the time details here. If you know the application area, you can check from the other transaction we saw earlier and then execute it. So it will list out, okay, so for this inbound delivery, this is the action definition and it went into success. So now we will try to create an inbound delivery and then test it. So once the inbound delivery is distributed to EWM, the warehouse task creation will occur. Now we can directly jump to SPPFP rather than going to the delivery and checking it. You can just execute it. So the delivery number is ending with 4. Then we can check if the PPF was successful or not. So we can check that the PPF was successful. Now at times what I've noticed is that when we are generating the data via the PPF, sometimes it doesn't show the document directly when we navigate through the uh, inbound delivery itself. So then you can check by going into the warehouse monitor. Now, why would we want to, create a warehouse task before even doing the good receipt, right? Now, the reason for that is because let's say you are using a POSC wherein you have complex unloading step in it. Now your door and staging areas, everything is determined. So physically, when your product will arrive in the warehouse, the operator won't be having the access to your desktop, right? They will have the handle device. So they will expect that by scanning the TU number or by delivery number, and then scanning by scanning the handling unit number, they are able to unload it. So they don't want to wait for the warehouse task or orders to be created, uh, you know, at that point of time. Now again, it depends upon your scenario. If you have the access, they want to create it, at that point of time, like a supervisor, they will know which shipments are arriving if you're using the DAS or whatever, right? So if you have the information, then you can do it. Now what we are going to do is We are going to say, so in this case, it is not displaying the data from here. So either we could go to the warehouse monitor, or now we will just use the unloading option and we will test it. So if the warehouse task is created, then it will let us process the delivery for the unloading step. Now note here that it is not a simple unloading step, and that is why we need a warehouse task. If it would be simple unloading, the same transaction code will work, but then we don't need the warehouse task. Now, as you can see, we are able to do the GR. So how do we know it was simple unloading and all that? So we can navigate to the handling unit. So handling unit holds the information of the POSC and the step. So once a particular step gets completed, system will then show the next step. And you can see the warehouse task was created. So you can see the system status. Okay. Now system has not refreshed the information. So let's complete the step. Now once unloading is step is updated, the GR also happens automatically. So we will refresh the information. So I had only one box, so the GR status is completely updated. Now, if we navigate again back to the handling unit, so we can see the step is coming as the unloading one here. Now, so so we have seen the setup to trigger the warehouse task automatically. Now, it is also possible to process your PPF from this screen directly if you want to, let's say, repeat the PPF. So if you go to the change mode, you can select the PPF, or if there is a PPF which is eligible for processing, then you would be able to select add it from here. Now if you want to reprocess it, then select it. So if you have a printout, for example, right, so you want to reprint it, so then it will make sense to use come to the screen and reprocess it, and then you can check the details in your SPPFP transaction code as well. All right, thank you.